Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring today's video. The Celtics front office didn't get cheap this summer. The hundreds of millions of dollars they committed into their core players in free agency will bring them further into the luxury tax and keep them as a second apron team, which limits their flexibility. It's pretty common for championship teams to let key role players walk in free agency to save money. We saw this over the summer when the Nuggets needlessly let Kentavious Caldwell-Pope go to the Magic, despite KCP being a major contributor to their championship run last year. The Celtics, on the other hand, are built different. They're a team that's willing to spend to retain top-tier talent no matter the cost. This is a big reason the Celtics have won the most titles out of all teams in NBA history. Their biggest move was to extend Jason Tatum to the largest supermax contract in league history, signing him to a 5-year, $315 million deal. With this move, the Celtics' dynamic duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who are both in the prime of their careers, are now both signed to long-term extensions, which widens the Celtics' championship window for years to come. The Celtics also signed Derek White to a long-term deal, signing him to a 4-year, $125 million extension, another great move by the front office. Derek White is a perfect example of a player who's a star in his role. He may be a role player, but the shutdown defense, knockdown three-point shooting, and additional scoring and playmaking he brings to this team makes him an invaluable contributor. Not only was Derek White a big part of the Celtics winning the championship, but he was also a contributor to Team USA's gold medal run in the Paris Olympics. The Celtics weren't done making moves. They also made sure to bring back their key bench players. They brought back Sam Hauser on a 4-year, $45 million deal. Hauser is a knockdown three-point shooter on offense, and on defense, he isn't shutting anyone down, but he can more than hold his own. 3-and-D players like Hauser are valuable bench pieces on championship teams. They also re-signed Luke Kornet and Xavier Tillman. Neither of these guys played major minutes last year, but they give Boston quality big man reserves behind Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford. The Celtics also made a nice addition when they brought in Lonnie Walker. Lonnie's career with the Spurs was a disappointment, but he became a solid player for the Lakers a year ago, and he even contributed to their playoff run to the Western Conference Finals. Last year, he put up 10 points per game off the bench for the Brooklyn Nets and shot it really well from deep. He could potentially be a nice spark plug off the Celtics bench. All in all, the Celtics had a great free agency. They didn't make a big addition like several other teams did, but they didn't have to. The simple fact that the defending champions are running it back with the same core going into next season puts them in a great position to repeat. Since the Celtics are likely to repeat, I'm picking them on BetUS to win the 2025 NBA championship. They currently have the best odds at plus 300 on BetUS to win the title. If you want to make some easy money like me betting on the Celtics, you can press the link below in my description to make an account. If you sign up, use the code YouTube150 and receive 150% sign up bonus on your first deposit and 125% on the second and third deposit. We also have to discuss the fact that many fans are discrediting the Celtics championship run. Many fans have called the Celtics title run easy due to the fact that several of the teams they faced dealt with injuries. I believe that two things can be true at once. The Celtics may have been fortunate that they faced some beat up rosters, but the Celtics are also still a great team. The Celtics had an ultra dominant regular season, winning a league best 64 games. They also had the NBA's #1 offense and #3 rated defense, so they were clearly the best team going into the playoffs. And in the playoffs, the Celtics faced the Heat team, Cavaliers team, and Pacers team that dealt with injuries to their star players. But at the end of the day, you play who's in front of you, and the Celtics took care of business. Now you could say the Celtics got lucky because of injuries, but by that logic, you could say the same for every team that wins the title. Someone on Reddit compiled a list since 2000 of all the injuries that benefited championship teams, and as we could see from the list, pretty much every championship roster faced a team that was dealing with injuries to their star players during their championship run. So it isn't a knock on Boston that they beat some injured teams. Injuries are part of the game, and a big part of winning a championship is staying healthy throughout the playoffs, avoiding untimely injuries, and oftentimes benefiting from untimely injuries on the opposing team. And even if you're not impressed by Boston's run through the Eastern Conference, you have to admit they had a very impressive finals where they beat a really good Mavericks team in a gentleman's sweep. Some fans will play revisionist history and call the Mavs an easy opponent, but this is simply not true. The Mavs have Luka Doncic, a consensus top 5 player, and Kyrie Irving, one of the best point guards in league history, and a pretty good supporting cast around them. This same Mavericks team beat the 1-seeded OKC Thunder in the semifinals in just 6 games, and destroyed an excellent Timberwolves team led by the rising superstar Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns in the conference finals. The Mavs had a very impressive finals run in their own right, but they were completely overwhelmed when they faced Boston. Many players have made the claim that Kyrie Irving is the most skilled player ever, but in the finals, Boston had him on lockdown. Jrue Holiday and Derek White took turns defending Kyrie. We've seen Kyrie have some of the most impressive playoff performances in NBA history, but in the 2024 finals, he was held to just 20 points per game on 41% shooting from the field and 27% from 3. Many players consider Jrue Holiday to be the NBA's best guard defender, and Derek White has made 2 all-defensive teams. Kyrie could barely get any separation when matched up against him, forcing him to constantly settle for ultra-difficult shots. This is the main reason his efficiency in the finals was so poor. The Celtics also held Luka way below his regular production, with Jaylen Brown getting the defensive assignment. They also made Luka work a lot harder on defense. He wasn't allowed to just hide on D like he did in the previous series. They relentlessly attacked him one-on-one, exposing his poor on-ball defense, which not only tired him out, but generated great shots for the Celtics offense. Offensively, the Celtics were a nightmare for the Mavericks to defend. The Celtics are one of the few teams that could space the floor out to 1 through 5. This made it so the Mavericks shot blockers couldn't come out to defend the paint, because otherwise they'd be leaving a good shooter wide open. A big part of the Celtics game plan was to attack Luka and Kyrie as much as possible, and with the paint wide open, this led to plenty of open dunks and layups. But what also made the Celtics practically unbeatable was the presence of Kristaps Porzingis. KP is one of the best post-up bigs in the game, where at 7'3", he could raise over most defenders easily. He torched the Mavs in the finals, and they simply had no answer for him. The Celtics dominated the finals, beating the Mavericks in just 5 games. So let's not get it twisted. The Celtics didn't face an easy opponent in the finals. They just made it look easy because they're such a dominant team on both ends of the floor. The haters can be salty all they want, but the Celtics earned this title. They've been knocking on the championship door for a long time, and this year, they finally pulled through. This upcoming season should be a much tougher route for the Celtics. Several teams in the East improved to give themselves a better chance at contending. The Sixers made a big splash when they added Paul George to form a big 3 alongside Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. The New York Knicks made a big 3 of their own, bringing in Mikal Bridges alongside Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. Other young teams like the Pacers and the Magic should also be better going into next season as long as their young guys keep improving. While the Eastern Conference definitely got a lot better, the Celtics are still the best team, at least in my opinion. No other team in the league has this combination of shooting, scoring, playmaking, and defense. Porzingis is the ultimate game changer, where his shooting, rim protection, and elite scoring ability unlocks the Celtics' full capabilities on both ends of the floor. And truth be told, we didn't even see the Celtics at their best. Jason Tatum struggled with his shooting pretty much throughout the entirety of last year's title run. Typically, a team needs their best player to bring their A game in order to go all the way, but the Celtics were so dominant that they blitzed through everyone, even with Tatum playing poorly, at least by his standards. The fact that the Celtics are this dominant without even firing on all cylinders should have the rest of the NBA terrified. If fully healthy, it's hard for me to see any team beating the Celtics in a 7-game series. The only thing stopping the Celtics from repeating as champions is injuries. What's even scarier is that this team is still young, with Tatum and Brown both being in their late 20s. They should compete for titles for years to come, and if enough things go right, they could be the NBA's next dynasty. But now I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of the Boston Celtics? Do you think they're going to win the 2025 championship? And what team do you think presents the biggest challenge to the Celtics repeating as champions? Let me see your thoughts down below in the comment section. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I hope to see you guys next video.